Hey guys, you can see I'm not on my own today. This is Laura, and she's joining me today because we're getting some different perspectives about autistic people, so you're not just stuck with seeing me all the time. Laura is nervous, she doesn't usually do this type of thing, but because she's such a good friend, she's agreed to do this. So Laura, you're not an autistic person, are you?
No.
So, but you have, apart from obviously me and Claire, you have autistic people in your life. So who do you have in your life who's autistic?
I have basically my two brothers I've got.
You're the youngest.
I am.
Yeah. So how much older are your brothers to you?
My middle brother, he is 4 years older than me. My oldest is 6 years.
So there's a little bit of an age gap there as well. Were they diagnosed when they were kids, or were they diagnosed a bit later in life?
I think they were both kids, because I know my middle brother, he went to a specialist school for special needs, whereas my oldest brother went into mainstream.
Did you always grow up knowing they were autistic? Was that like a conversation with your parents, or?
No, I just thought it was completely normal.
Do you remember ever being aware that they have this official diagnosis of being autistic?
Not until I got to college, where I started to find, okay, there's like traits that are different to what my friends group had, because I had a wider friends group in college than I did in school, and say, okay, this is normal just like me, so why are my brothers different?
Oh, that's fair enough. And what is their diagnoses?
No, they've both got Asperger's.
Back then they got the Asperger's.
Yeah, they were all diagnosed when they were kids.
Do you remember sort of like your brothers getting, like say one brother went to a specialist school whereas one went to the mainstream? Do you remember him getting like any extra help or anything like that, or was he just able to kind of like cope with mainstream?
I think he's similar to me. We both had help in both infant school and junior school, and the first 2 years of senior school, and then from my perspective, for me, I had like 2 years and then no help at all.
So to you it was very normal, because obviously you're dyslexic, so you were getting help for your dyslexia. Yeah. So your brother getting help wasn't really anything different to you, that was just normal everyday life, you got help at school.
Yeah, I don't really know much about how much help my older brother did through school, but I just know that something was different.
So it wasn't something that completely like ruled your family life or anything like that. Having two brothers with autism diagnosis, did you ever feel left out?
I just saw it as normal. Because I'm the youngest kid, you see them grow up and then you see their traits and you sometimes copy their little traits because that's what you brought up. My oldest brother is obsessed with video games. Completely obsessed with the video game Destiny, and has everything.
So that's his like special interest. That's become like his sole like hobby.
Yeah. And my middle brother was racing, car racing, and he's just both obsessed with all of that. And
now, one thing I wanted to talk about, because it gives quite a unique perspective, is that you and your family come from a religious background, and how that in any way has affected in negative or positive. So this is something that we was talking about earlier, wasn't we? And that about, has being autistic had any kind of effect on your religion or your church and the people that are part of your church in any way?
It actually hasn't, which is really, really nice, because we've actually, when I was growing up, there was like loads of kids and adults with special needs come to the church, and my church just welcomed them with open arms and didn't see it as a burden or a curse.
Yeah, because I think it's probably not as prevalent in this country, but you do see it where sometimes people see any kind of like disability as, you know, you must have done something wrong to be afflicted in this way, and you sort of like, some people can be shunned because they're different, whereas actually you and your family have had quite the opposite experience in that your church has been quite welcoming. And how active are your brothers in the church nowadays?
My oldest brother, because he works, he doesn't really go to church because of work, but my middle brother always make sure that he has the Sunday off from his workplace to go to church, because that is one of his also, I wouldn't really call it obsession, but his
special interest,
because it's his faith and that's what he's always known. So he's very well involved in his church. He does all the treasury, he does the music, he also helps with the worship group. He just enjoys it a lot. He listens to a lot of their music. It can be critical, but it can also be quite irritable. In the sense of, there have been times where I've been in the car with him, with Claire and a few other friends, and that's all that he listens to, and sometimes I feel embarrassed, but not embarrassed, but...
Also, if it's not something that you're into, then you're listening to music you don't particularly like.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like he's just put the normal radio on to put the CD on.
But is then possibly that his, lack of awareness of being an autistic person, that he doesn't realise that actually you guys don't like the music? Does he just automatically think that you like the music and therefore you want to listen to it? Fair enough. Has nobody told him?
No, we don't say anything.
He's happy.
We just let him drive and we just nap.
So how do you think having autistic brothers has affected you negatively or positively?
I think positively, it's definitely got me into a lot of video games.
How did it get you into video games? You said your brother's got a special interest in video games, so was that your exposure to it?
That's how he got me into video games, because he's just always been obsessed with it. I remember him obsessing over Tomb Raider.
Pretty good. I've not played it myself, but I've heard
don't get me wrong, it's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a Derby game.
So he got you into that video game well, because obviously as long as I've known you, you've always liked video games, so he was your entry into that world. Yeah,
that's how he got me started, and then I remember you playing Sonic 2 on the computer. You always used to play Sonic, and he was allowed me to play as Tails.
That was very good. So it's nice that he wanted to share that special interest with you and bring you into his world, so to speak.
And then we still try to beat each other on Smash Bros.
What about how, your thoughts on autistic people and autism? How has it moulded your point of view?
I just see it as have it as an open mind. Open mind about everything, and just don't judge a book by its cover. Because I have my own health issues, and you see a lot of people thinking, oh look, they look all drunk and everything, but you don't know if they were having a seizure or having issues with blood pressure, sugar levels. You don't know. And it's exactly the same with autism. It's like, you just don't read a book by its cover. You need to know them, understand them. And you accept them into your world and they accept you into theirs. Like you've done.
How do you think then? Because obviously my sort of own little journey with autism, when we first met, I didn't know anything about me being autistic. It was something that actually came along a little bit after, so you've been with me the whole time. How has the fact that you had the knowledge about autism and things like that with your brother, how do you think that has affected our friendship as well?
I just see you as a normal person, just wacky and crazy like me.
Definitely. But I think it gave us that bond because you already had knowledge of autistic people and how that affects people.
And it probably made you really comfortable.
Oh yeah, because it's somebody I knew a little bit about, so somebody I could talk to. Whereas I never knew anybody autistic apart from after I went for my diagnosis. You had your brothers, and then you knew me. So you've got quite a lot of experience in your life of being around autistic people. Is there any other kind of experiences that you've got?
Pretty much with childcare and also being part of Scouts.
Oh yeah, so you've had some kids in your Scouts as well that have also been autistic?
Yeah, I've had, since I've been a leader, about 4. Just had a new one join us last year.
Were you able to spot before other people, if things maybe during an activity or something like that was getting too much for them? Were you able to spot that earlier than other people?
I think it's more of a case of that their parents told us but the other scouts don't see it.
Yeah.
Because they always exclude them, but we make them join. They absolutely enjoy it though, but I have had a few, at least 2 that I can think on top of my head, who basically had a really small attention span, who decided to like join in with the activities for about 5-10 minutes, and then went off to do their own thing. When we kept encouraging, trying to come back.
Yeah, but at least you're trying.
They're trying, because we had one who was with us for 4 years. He was actually getting better at wanting to actually partake in everything instead of doing something for 5 minutes with us lot and then go off do something else.
So sometimes just that persistent encouragement is what needed.
It sometimes does work. Not on all of them, but it does
knowing
work.
individually how to treat
and then
someone.
The latest child who joined our scout would actually come in and join and do his best to actually have fun.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the attention span that will make him do something for 5 minutes. He'll actually carry and fulfill the whole task.
Yeah.
But you can tell he thinks differently to everyone else. Generally, they're actually really, really good with them, which is really, really helpful. Because out of the leaders we have, basically, was me and my dad, are the only leaders who know how to deal with people with special needs.
Yeah, but that's obviously better for them because they've got somebody with that knowledge that they can have sort of a bit of a better bond with.
And this is why when we were starting out, we've had like people across Derby North actually coming to us because we have had the experience with special needs children.
Oh, so they actually seek you out because they know they're going to be accepted easier and that they're going to have somebody that
we do give them a try, and sometimes we can only cope up to like probably at least 2, just because we do not have the support worker with them, and we're not really qualified to be trained as like, okay, what do we do with special needs? But we've got the experience, we know how to cope with them.
Yeah. So how old are your brothers now?
My oldest brother is 34 and my middle brother is 32.
Right. And what is their sort of like life status in a way now in terms of like relationships and jobs and things like that?
My oldest brother is married.
So your eldest brother's married?
Yeah.
And what's his like job status? Like working full time?
Working full time, stable.
And he lives with his wife in their own
got their own place
like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What about your middle brother? What's his status is like?
He's my middle brother. He's still single, so he's still looking for that perfect person. Find the one, and because he's more religious than me, he will go by what our religion says.
So he's only looking for that one serious relationship, and that's it. Any other person he meets that he's not really attracted to or doesn't have a connection with, it's not somebody he's going to pursue a relationship with.
He struggles with trying to have like conversations because he has been on dating sites, and sometimes they don't work out. Is
it more apparent that your older brother is just more confident in that way?
No, it's more surprising.
Fair enough.
Because I never expected him to be the first out of all of us to get married.
So it was a little bit out the blue. Was he been with his wife long before they got engaged and married?
About a year.
So some people would consider that quite quick.
I would consider that quite quick, but he's happy.
And how long have they been married?
Coming up to 3 years.
Seems like it wasn't that long ago that they actually got married, because I remember them getting married and seeing the photos and things. So it doesn't seem that long. It doesn't seem like we've known each other that long.
Oh gosh, no.
So your older brother didn't seem more confident with women and dating and things like that, but he just was lucky enough to meet the right one and get married. Whereas your middle brother just, as much as he's on the same level and the same viewpoints in dating, he just quite hasn't been as lucky.
No, he hasn't, unfortunately.
But is he working?
Yeah,
middle
we all work.
Oh, that's quite good then. So he's able to hold down a steady job.
Yeah,
and
he's been at the same job for...
So they have never found any difficulty in them being autistic affecting their job life at all. So the way me and Laura know each other is I moved to this area a few years ago, got a couple of different jobs, but then moved across to a supervisor job, which Laura was already working there, and that's how we met. And we just clicked over how eccentric we just got each other, didn't we? Because we're both kind of eccentric, but also I went into a role where Laura was the only other female as well. And strangely, as much as I tend to usually get on with guys more, we just clicked immediately, didn't we? And kind of
and I generally don't
bonded.
Really talk to girls that much because I have more of a connection with guys. And you were near enough the first one that say, oh, this is different, and she's just like me, absolutely crazy and wacky. I love her.
and we just bonded straight away, and we were just there because obviously I was going through my own problems with thinking I was suffering with mental health. You'd not long come out of being sort of like diagnosed with having diabetes and things, and getting your head around that. So we kind of helped each other out in that sense, didn't we? And just kind of like bonded in over looking out for each other as well. And we just met, I think, at the right time. I think we needed each other in our lives, and life just threw us together. And we've just been best friends ever since, haven't we? And
I love that.
Sometimes it takes time, but eventually you find the people you need in your life at the time you need it. And as much as I'm not a religious person, I still have kind of spiritual type of beliefs that things happen for a reason.
About that when we were first getting to know each other.
And you would never have thought that we would have bonded. That's it. I wanted to give a different sort of viewpoint on what it's like to be on the other side of autism and be somebody that has autistic people in your life. So thank you for doing this video for me. I know you really didn't want to do it at first, and I had to convince you, and you reluctantly did it, but hopefully you've enjoyed being on the camera with me. Thank you for coming along and doing this with me. Thank you so much. And that's it. Obviously you won't see Laura again, but you'll see me in the next video. So bye for now, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
See ya.